Speaking section directions. The speaking section measures your ability to speak in English about a variety of topics. There are 6 questions in this section. Questions 1 and 2 are independent tasks in which you will speak about familiar topics. Your responses will be scored on your ability to speak clearly and coherently about the topics. Questions 3 and 4 are integrated speaking tasks. You will read a passage, listen to a conversation or lecture, and then speak in response to a question about what you have read and heard. You will need to combine relevant information from the 2 sources to answer the question completely. Your responses will be scored on your ability to speak clearly and coherently and on your ability to accurately convey information about what you read and heard. Questions 5 and 6 are integrated speaking tasks. You will listen to part of a conversation or lecture and then speak in response to a question about what you have heard. Your responses will be scored on your ability to speak clearly and coherently and on your ability to accurately convey information about what you heard. You will hear each conversation and lecture only one time. You may take notes while you listen. You may use your notes to help you answer the questions.
Number 1. In this question, you will be asked to talk about a familiar topic. After you hear the question, you will have 15 seconds to prepare your response and 45 seconds to speak. Talk about a place you enjoyed going to or visiting when you were a child. Describe the place. Explain why you enjoyed it.
Begin to prepare your response after the beep. Begin speaking after the beep.
Number 2. In this question, you will be asked to give your opinion about a familiar topic. After you hear the question, you will have 15 seconds to prepare your response and 45 seconds to speak. Do you agree or disagree with the following statement? Why or why not? Use details and examples to explain your answer. It is more important to study math or science than it is to study art or literature.
Begin to prepare your response after the beep. Begin speaking after the beep.
Number 3. In this question, you will read a short passage about a campus situation and then listen to a talk on the same topic. You will then answer a question using information from both the reading passage and the talk. After the question, you will have 30 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak. The university has announced a new policy regarding dining services. Read an article about it in the student newspaper. You have 50 seconds to read the article. Begin reading now. Now listen to two students discussing the article.
Did you see that article?
Yeah, and it sounds like a great idea. It's really good for the students in that program.
Don't they cook in class anyway?
Well, yeah, they do. But my cousin was in the program a few years ago, and she said that it's very different to cook for a lot of people in that kind of atmosphere than to cook for classmates.
Why is that?
Well, in class, you can take your time, but cooking for more people, there's more pressure. I mean, you're in a rush, people are waiting, and it might be easy to make a mistake with all that stress.
Then they'll think you're a bad chef, right?
Absolutely.
So, okay, it's good practice. But what about the extra cost?
Well, look at it this way. You've eaten at some of the fancier restaurants in town, right?
Yeah, there are some great places to eat around here.
Well, these students, they'll be making fantastic meals, and it's going to be cheaper than going out to one of those restaurants.
Much cheaper, actually.
So, it'll be worth it. The meals will be as good as the ones in those expensive restaurants.
The man expresses his opinion about the university's plan. State his opinion and explain the reasons he gives for holding that opinion.
Begin to prepare your response after the beep. Begin speaking after the beep.
Number 4. In this question, you will read a short passage on an academic subject and then listen to a talk on the same topic. You will then answer a question using information from both the reading passage and the talk. After the question, you will have 30 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak. The passage about target marketing. You will have 45 seconds to read the passage. Begin reading now. Now listen to part of a lecture on this topic in a marketing class.
Nowadays, something you notice more and more is television commercials that are made specifically for certain television programs. So, let's say a company wants to sell a telephone, a cell phone. Now, during TV shows that young people watch, shows with pop music or teen serials, they create a commercial that emphasizes how fun the phone is. The phone has bright colors, and they show kids having a good time with their friends. And, well, the company wants the kids watching TV at this time to want to buy this phone that's made especially for them. But the same company will make a different commercial to be shown during, say, a program about business or a business news show. Now, for this group of people, business people, the company will have to show how efficient their phone is, how it can handle all business easily, and maybe even save money. And here's the thing. It's basically the same phone. The company has just made two different commercials to appeal to different groups of people.
Using the professor's examples, explain the advertising technique of target marketing.
Begin to prepare your response after the beep. Begin speaking after the beep.
Number 5. In this question, you will listen to a conversation. You will then be asked to talk about the information in the conversation and to give your opinion about the ideas presented. After you hear the question, you will have 20 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak. Listen to a conversation between two students.
Susan, what happened to your arm?
It's my wrist, actually. I sprained it last weekend, and I'm kind of upset about it because I'm supposed to play the violin in my string quartet's big concert next week. We've been practicing for weeks, and we've already sold a bunch of tickets.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. What are you going to do?
Well, I was thinking about trying to play anyway. I mean, I really don't want to let the other 3 group members down. Plus, the doctor said my wrist should be feeling better by then.
Oh, okay, so problem solved, right?
Not exactly. I'm worried that I'm going to be out of practice. Like, I haven't been able to play the violin since I sprained my wrist. What if I don't play well? I'd make the rest of the group sound bad.
Why don't you get somebody else to take your place?
Well, there's only one other person I know of who could do it, and that's Jim. He's a great violinist, and I'm sure he'd say yes. The thing is he's not very reliable. I mean, I'm in the orchestra with him, and he's always showing up late for rehearsals.
Oh, so you're not sure you can depend on him.
Exactly. And we have less than a week left to rehearse for the concert. We'd really need him to show up on time for all our rehearsals.
Briefly summarize the woman's problem, then state which solution you would recommend. Explain the reasons for your recommendation.
Begin to prepare your response after the beep. Begin speaking after the beep.
Number 6. In this question, you will listen to a short lecture. You will then be asked to summarize important information from the lecture. After you hear the question, you will have 20 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak. Now listen to part of a lecture in a psychology class.
Why do we do the things we do? What drives us to participate in certain activities, to buy a certain car, or even to choose a certain career? In other words, what motivates us to do what we do? Well, in studies of motivation, psychologists distinguish between 2 very different types. Our reasons for doing something, our motivations, can be extrinsic. In other words, based on some kind of external reward, like praise or money. Or they can be intrinsic, meaning we engage in the activity because it pleases us internally. Both create strong forces that lead us to behave in certain ways. However, intrinsic motivation is generally considered to be more long-lasting than the other. As I said, extrinsic motivation is external. It's the desire to behave in a certain way in order to obtain some kind of external reward. A child, for example, who regularly does small jobs around the house, does them not because she enjoys taking out the garbage or doing the dishes, but because she knows if she does these things, she'll be given a small amount of money for doing them. But how motivated would the child be to continue doing the work if her parents suddenly stopped giving her money for it? With intrinsic or internal motivation, we want to do something because we enjoy it or get a sense of accomplishment from it. Most people who are internally motivated get pleasure from the activity, so they just feel good about doing it. For example, I go to the gym several times a week. I don't go because I'm training for a marathon or anything. I just enjoy it. I have more energy after I exercise, and I know it's good for my health, so it makes me feel good about myself. And that's what's kept me going there for the past 5 years.
Using points and examples from the talk, explain the two types of motivation.
Begin to prepare your response after the beep. Begin speaking after the beep.